All right, good news coming out of my home state of Louisiana. They have now joined 20 other states in protecting young children from irreversible transgender procedures when state lawmakers overrode the governor's veto of House Bill 648. That's Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards. Now, we've been tracking this story on Washington Watch, and I want to thank all of our viewers and listeners who prayed for this outcome, and those in Louisiana who contacted their legislators. It made a difference. Joining me now to discuss this is the author of this legislation, Louisiana State Representative Gabe Firment. He represents the 22nd District of Louisiana. Representative Firment, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thank you, Tony. Good to be with you.
I want to congratulate you on getting this legislation not only passed once, but it's a heavy lift to override the governor of Louisiana, being that they have a lot of power and stroke. So congratulations on getting this done.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this is only the third time a gubernatorial veto has been overridden in the last 50 years. So it was a historic moment yesterday. And Tony, I don't know if you followed this bill, but it was a lot of ups and downs. There for a moment we thought it was dead. Senate Health and Welfare Committee killed the bill temporarily, but the outcry from the public was just so great that it was resurrected, and here we are today.
So, what was the sense from your colleagues? It looked like you moved pretty quickly to vote to override the governor in both chambers. Now, there were other bills that did not pass, but this one did. So it seems to be that there is a lot of unity around the need for this legislation.
There is, and I think the vote yesterday reflected the will of the people. And what we were focused on is, if you look at a map of the states that have banned these sort of horrific procedures on children and passed this legislation, Louisiana was the only state in the Deep South that had not stepped up and done that. So look, we knew that if we did not override the governor's veto, that Louisiana would really become a mecca for these mutilating surgeries and castrating drugs. So it was just so important that we got it done. And, I commend the representatives who listened to the people. And that's what this is about is, Louisiana Family Forum and all of these grassroots groups that stepped up. And, the senators said they have never seen anything like it, just thousands of calls and emails. And it really made a difference and really was the deciding factor.
Well, it's so good to see it. I'm grateful for the persistence of the legislature on this issue. Do you foresee this, Louisiana, we have elections this fall. Do you see this as the protection of children and what's happening in our schools? Because there was other legislation that did not pass, pronouns, such matters as that. Do you see this as being an election issue this fall?
Without a doubt. And so a couple of years ago, we had a similar experience with the bill that simply would have prevented boys from competing against girls in high school sports. And there were some representatives that made the wrong vote on that bill, and they suffered the consequences. And I have no doubts that you'll see the same results this election cycle. In fact, we've got statewide legislative elections, and all the statewide offices are up for grabs. So I think this, along with the anti-grooming school bills and some of the bills designed to keep pornography out of our libraries, people are focused on that, and I think it's going to lead to hopefully more conservative, family-friendly elected officials in Louisiana.
Yeah, I think you're right, and we'll work to that end. Gabe, thanks so much for joining us today with this update, and again, congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you, Tony, and look, we sure appreciate everybody's prayers and their hard work to get this done. Thank you.
All right. Gabe Firment, the author of the SAFE Act bill, the Louisiana's version of it. Very quickly, I'm going to bring in Travis Weber, Vice President of Policy here at the Family Research Council. Travis, welcome back to Washington Watch. As I mentioned, Louisiana now joins 20 states that have these policies in place. This is growing.
It is growing. And Tony, I mean, this has occurred all in the last few years. Arkansas was the first one several years ago, and then we saw one of these passed in Alabama. And then this year, there's actually 23, if you classify related bills, for instance, giving children a cause of action for medical malpractice against providers. 23 related bills to the topic that have been passed, and about 20 states cover the basic prohibition on gender transition or hormones, puberty blockers. So there's a massive upswell, and this is driven by the people. Americans are tired of seeing these ideologies take over, the elites pushing them on unwilling people who do not want to have this ideology shoved down their throat. And so they're speaking up through their elected officials.
And you mentioned Arkansas. That was a prototype that the Family Research Council created, and it took us a while. We had to override a veto there in Arkansas. Your shop also leaned in pretty heavy there in Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana. I mean, it's really good to see, as you were discussing the veto override effort. We submitted testimony from Jennifer Bowens expressing our view that the science has been politicized here. And so when we hear claims about the science and research, it's actually political ideology that's often injected into that. But, a lot of folks nationally engaged in this now, Family Policy Alliance, other friends out there really engaged on this issue, thankfully, helping the American people understand what's going on here and how to make their voices heard.
Well, once again, a great job by your team in getting the facts out there, getting the testimony, and of course, our grassroots team turning out votes.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good effort.
All right. Thanks, Travis.